Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome back to Nerd Now. My name is Spunk McCunkle.
Mine's Barry McCockner.
Mine's Jim.
Would you like an innuendo name, sir?
Jim Boner.
You could do Hugh Jassel or
No, that one's too obvious. How
No.
about
Jackhammer.
no, just Jim.
just Jim.
Just Jim.
Will Powers.
Will Powers. No, just Jim. So
Those were. If anyone catch those names, those were Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney names.
those are actual names in the game.
Yes.
That's incredibly stupid and amazing.
You defend Will Powers, who is accused of killing Jackhammer.
Willpower. Will Powers. Oh my gosh. So this is a very special episode.
You know what's so special about it?
What, David?
That it has the three of us in it.
It's 50% off. Don't think about it.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
And it just broke me.
I mean,
You're welcome.
It just broke my mind.
Nathaniel also has another good point too. It's just like this is an important episode because we're all in it.
Oh my!
Or it's also an important episode because we're actually putting one out.
That's true.
It's
We've been delaying it for a long.
It's been a tad second.
Yeah.
Tad of a second.
We meaning me?
That was the name of my manager, Tad.
Tad?
Tad, like tadpole.
TAD.
TAD.
It's like Todd and Brad couldn't have had a worser man-child baby.
It's like
And they made him Tad.
Or worser grammar. Jeez.
Worser.
Worser? Like,
Worser?
That's not a word, dude.
The worst.
It's my word.
It's my Worcestershire sauce.
It's my truth.
I want to be the guy who creates new words in the dictionary.
You are already.
Oh yeah.
But they're not in the dictionary. Or are they?
Oh, you want to be the guy? You want to be the guy who puts new words in the dictionary?
Yeah, because you think about it, the English language is the only one that keeps adding new shit to it and then removing new shit to it. Like, how is it we added YOLO to the dictionary and then we removed, what was it? It was the synonym for, what was it? I was reading about it the other day.
Synonym for what?
Get to the point.
Constitution is the synonym for constitution.
Like the constitution of your face. Or that. Like the constitution of your face.
Make a Constitution saving throw.
Or like the...
roll a 1. Oh, I was playing
Oh, okay.
like
we're just not
three-
going to talk about that anymore.
3. Oh.
New topic.
Oof.
What is that about?
So yeah, I was playing our D&D session like some time ago.
I'm not trapped in here with you. You're
trapped in here with me. He was the saddest death of that movie,
Yeah.
Watchmen. Supposedly a sequel's coming out
It's a
Well,
series
it's gonna
on
be a
HBO.
on HBO.
It's getting
Yeah.
rave reviews. I haven't seen it yet because I canceled my HBO because, no job. But
Yeah.
No, I'm missing.
I hear it's good.
So anyway, what were you saying?
Oh, so I was playing our one-shot D&D campaign, and one of the NPCs who like Preston like muscled into there because Willie made the biggest mistake of being like, this is the easiest camp. He's like, this is the easiest session we've had. He's just like, Preston's kind of going easy on us, and Preston's just like,
Oh, really?
So a pack of 20 wolves show up,
Oh no.
and they all have double attack.
How many of you are there? In your
Me
party?
and Willie. So I can wild shape into a bear, but that doesn't help me at all because I have to like keep reviving Willie. So he sends an NPC, and we blissfully find out this guy's name is NPC number 20 because his bottle cap had 20 on it, and we instantly forgot his name and couldn't care less about him. So we literally have abused him since the moment we've gotten him, and like Preston's pissed off again at us because like we throw when it doesn't matter. We throw really good. So like after we kill all these wolves, we find these like obelisks and stuff, and like Preston's just like, you like me, like I make an Arcana check. He's like, you can feel so much dark energy here and you don't know why. And I'm just like, okay. And then Willie's just like, roll intimidation check on number 20. He's like, why? He's just like, let me roll. rolls a 20, and so he's just like, I'm gonna intimidate him and tell him to lick one of these obelisks. And he's just like, you can't do that. He's like, you can't force the NPC to do something. He's just like, roll persuasion to give him 30 gold to lick one of these obelisks. He rolls a 19 and he has +5 in it. So he's just like,
I'll do it for free.
Preston, you can see the awe on his face. He's like, he just rolled a 20 and a 19. And he's just like, he licks the obelisk. And then he's just like, you see his skin tone go from a normal, he was also a what's the name?
Dragonborn?
Dragonborn.
Oh, Dragonborn.
And
Okay.
he was just like, you see his normal complexion of like auburn red turn to pale white. And like, so we've done things to him every single time. Like, we just have abused this person. And then what was funny was the moment we left, like we like split ways with this NPC. He was just like, Preston, he was just like, okay, you're about to part ways. You know, he is in awe of the things they've done with you. Is there any parting words you want to do? And I look at Willie, and Willie looks at me, and like we both nod at each other. I'm just like, we're both gonna roll intimidation. And then he's just like, why do you want to do this? And Preston's just like, I just want him to leave. It was just like, fine, roll. I roll an 18. I have a +4, and Willie rolls a 20, and Preston just like throws his hands up. He's like, what are you doing? And then he's just like, so he's a hunter-gatherer. I have collected
The NPC? Or
he's a hunt. The NPC is a hunter.
he has a name, you know.
I, as a gimmick, number 20 is a hunter. I have collected as a gimmick. After every battle, I go around and rip teeth out of the things I kill, because at the beginning of the campaign, okay, this makes sense to me, and then later on it was clarified. It was just like, you can't have your player traits. You have to use organic matter with weapons and with armor. Makes sense. I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, okay, what's something hard? Because we're not going to find any dragons anytime soon. Just like, teeth. So I during the campaign, I find a bag of like 37 human teeth, and he made it as a joke. And then I was just like, no, I pick up the bag. I put it in my inventory. And then Preston's just like, you don't have to. And I'm just like, you'll see. Every single battle, I've collected teeth. I'm at 98 human teeth. And then the best part is he's gone along with it. And he's just like, oh, you have 98 teeth. 6 of them are rotten. 12 of them are perfect. 4 of them are bloody. So we roll intimidation check, right? And then Willie's just like, roll intimidation, walk up on him, and put him in a half Nelson. And then he's just like, that's a strength check. And I'm just like, Preston, he has +2 strength, and he's been rolling really good. He's going to get this strength check. He's just like, I'm going to roll a counter strength check. He rolled, the number 20 rolled a 1. Willie rolled an 18. So it was an unnatural 20. And so to stop our madness, because we told Preston what we were going to do, is he was going to put him in a Nelson and was going to shove the teeth into his mouth.
Oh,
and then
all the teeth?
punch him in the jaw. Just because we didn't get about him. But because he rolled a 1, Preston's just like, I'm stopping this here. He's just like, okay, Willie goes to put him in a Nelson, and he snaps his neck. And he goes limp in his arms. And then he's just like, to get back at us, because we were in a market center, he's just like, the guards see you and start chasing you. And then I was just like, let's go out, let's do this. And so in the campaign, magic's like a taboo in this world. I'm just like, I don't give a I shapeshifted to a bear.
In the middle of the
While staring at the guards running at me, pop down and take as bear, take a massive dub. But so I wild shape into a bear. I clap one of the guards. And then
by the way, I love that term.
Clapping.
Or hitting, like beating up someone. Just collapse someone.
no, because that's the thing, is I had 2 attacks. One's a bite and then one's a claw. And usually the claw is the best one, because the bite's just the first one, which grapples them. and then it just. So whenever I motion like I'm gonna become a bear to Willie, I'm just like, and then I made a slapping sound, and then so.
Evan, you thought I was a troll during D&D.
You did not want me there.
So glad you weren't.
I know. I would have ruined your campaign. As
Probably.
Preston has said, we derailed the campaign like multiple times because of the shit we do.
And he still plays with you.
And we love Preston. He's so patient with us. So I clap one of the guards, and then Willie's in a bit of trouble because like after that his rolls stop being good. So I come over. He's at like 5 health left, and these guards are like Imperial guards. You do with these guys. Like the only reason I'm okay with them right now is because like Wild Shape's really good for me because I can add spell modifier to him right now. But so I go over, and just because Preston wants to do this, he's just like because I was at pretty low health too. He's just like, you feel a strong sense of burden on you. He's just like, you look over and you find out number 20 is actually an arcane ranger, and he's put a curse on you from afar. And he's just like, you are now immobilized for 30 minutes. And so I have to sit and watch Willie make so many trying to make it by, and I'm like trying to do something to help. So
are the guards punt kicking him or something?
So I look over at Preston. I'm just like, I'm immobilized, right? And he's just like, yeah. I'm just like, but produce flame requires no movement or speech, right? And he's just like, yeah. And I'm like, so I was frozen like this, right? He's just like, God damn it. So I'm like, I cast produce flame over and over and over and over at number 20 till he dies a fiery death. And the curse was lifted. And I go over, and by the time I get to him, Willie's almost making death saving throws, and then he was fine. So as a joke, we go over, and Preston's just like, do you want to take his teeth? I'm just like, no, I want to take his head off.
What, to store the teeth?
I roll a 2, so he's just like, you go to take his head off and you just obliterate the rest of his head. And then Willie's just like, I want his feet. Because there was a long running joke because we both had 30 speed and he had 50 for some reason.
You both had feet fetishes, but go on.
Now that I think of, no, I'm kidding. So Willie, he's just
that's the worst fetish. I don't get it.
So Willie, as a long running joke, we were just joking with Preston because he was supposed to be the same level, but he had 50 speed instead of 30 like we did. So Willie's just the whole time he's just like, man, I want his legs. I bet I can run really fast. So when we were there, this burnt crust of a body, Willie's just like, I want his feet. And so rolls 19 dex to carefully cut his feet off.
Oh my gosh.
And then he's like, I used some of the leather to tie him into strings, like how kids tie shoes together and throw them over electrical power lines. He's like, I wrap them around my neck. And he's just like, he turns to Preston. He's just like, do I gain 10 movement speed now?
And Preston just goes, yes.
By this time, Preston's done with how we've been doing this. He's tried everything to counter our bullshit. He's just like, sure. You gain 5 movement speed, put it on your character sheet. And I'm like, what? And so I'm like, was he I'm like, can I cut off his hands and get some stuff? And Preston's like, you see knights coming and guards start running towards you after what they've seen.
It's like,
I'm just
you
okay,
decide what you want.
If I was those guards and I've seen what they've seen, I run away.
So
I got to tell you about the campaign.
Oh, yes.
The one shot that I ran. Well, afterwards, because this episode's coming out before those. So
I
don't want to spoil
Stay
that.
tuned.
Because this is the big 5-0.
Yes. So main topic time.
I mean, we kind of bridge on main topic, but no matter what we talk about, we're kind of on the main topic because nerd culture and stuff and interests that we're into and why we're into it.
Okay,
D&D's a big one.
D&D's a really big one, but for this episode, we thought it would be only appropriate, instead of going forward or talking about things that are coming out or things that just came out, or new like stuff on new culture, we thought it would only be appropriate to go back to the beginning.
We're going back.
So,
How bad?
Marty, we gotta go back. We gotta go back, Marty. Oh yeah, no one talks about that. It's just this high school kid, and his best friend is a disgraced nuclear physicist who is either 40 or 60, and everyone was just okay with it.
Why not both?
Yeah, right? Yeah. So anyway,
It's the 80s. Everyone who didn't know a nuclear physicist in the 80s.
so this episode is kind of a part of like our ADD format. We're going to be kind of like having kind of like conversation mostly, but it's going to be talking about kind of like our first introductions into nerd culture, and kind of like what was the first thing that got us interested in nerd things, and what was some of our biggest influences growing up. So does anyone want to start, or anyone have like a story in particular that they want to share?
I can go.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think my first foray into nerd culture was probably animated stuff, like films and TV, and I'd watch Pokemon and Metabots and like all the Japanese cartoons that were dubbed horribly in English because it was the 90s.
By 4 kids.
By 4 kids. Yu-Gi-Oh! Without all the violence.
Without the guns and the guys just pointing their fingers. Freeze! Come with us!
But it was like, I was like...
Move slightly to the left. You're not pointing at me, sir. You're right.
Now I point at you. But
It's like, I'm pointing at that window now.
I was like... I think as a kid, the thing that I was mostly into was Pokemon. Like, I bought the cards, I played the games, I watched the show, saw the movies. I was like... Pokemon was a big thing. And... I think that's what started like my obsession with Japanese culture. Like that's kind of the first thing that sparked it. Like Nintendo games and everything. I was a big Nintendo kid. My first console was Game Boy. My first game that I ever owned was Pokemon Yellow.
We talked about that in a previous episode.
Yes, you did. You should go check it out. Yeah. Pokemon or Baby Name? Oh wait, or is that?
I think that was Pokemon or Baby Name. But there was another one I think where we talked about video games where all of us were in it. We were talking about the worst video games that we've played.
Oh yeah.
And then there's another one that was more of an ADD style where me and David talked about video games.
Yeah, and we went down
the kind of like the culture and how it's changed and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it was 16. Yeah, it was just the progression of media. But
I was gonna say that was episode 16. The Baby Name was 40. I don't remember.
You have amazing memory. I could not remember that.
I don't remember the. I was just about to say I don't remember the bad video games.
Well, 2 out of 3 is pretty good. But yeah, I as a kid, before I played video games myself, I'd watch my cousin play like Legend of Zelda, and Super Mario 64 was a big one. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't actually get to play because he wouldn't let me play. He was like older than me by a few years, and I was totally fine with it.
Did they do the thing where they give you a controller but it's not plugged in and be like,
no,
play with us?
I was just thinking of that.
They never did that to me, and I would have not fallen for that. I would have been like, oh, I know.
Yeah, I would have fell for that flashback to every game I've ever played with brothers. Why isn't it going the way I'm directioning it to? Well...
It's like, it's just the game's hard,
it's
man.
Just you just gotta fight with it.
Little
sometimes.
David, you play by sitting there and shutting your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Don't.
Yeah. I did that to my sisters too.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I never experienced that.
I always did that because I didn't. Well, no.
They want to be
included. But then I finally played with them. But then I played Budokai and just kicked the crap out of them.
So the first game you are passively allowing them to play with you is one in which you decimate them.
Okay, to be fair, Abby is a savant. Okay, she
just gets it somehow. Button masher
with just games in general. Like she is like
she has a gift then.
Oh, she's the one. Like she is.
I am Harry Potter.
She is Neo. All right, from like that's like every time we play games, like board games or video games, she is a freaking savant. I don't get it. Like in the beginning, And I had the bad Budokai. I had Budokai 2. So
Oh my god, I was gonna ask which one.
gosh, it was so bad. But it had Budokai 2, and I kicked the crap out of her like in the beginning. But then she got it, and it became an even challenge. It was not like there'd be times where it was like the record was tied. Like,
Oh man.
Evan's like, this is not what I wanted.
this is not acceptable. So
It's like using leg sweep in Mortal Kombat 10. Just leg sweep over and over and over and over.
well, the thing is, though, she didn't spam. She learned combos.
Whoa.
Oh.
Most people who I've played against who like get it right away, they spam. So
Oh, no. Abby, she spammed, but slowly she's like, oh, if I do these together,
it makes like a thing that works together,
good
and
stuff
like a
happens.
sequence of
oh
things.
my gosh, she got so good at that game. And there'd be times where she wanted to play where I didn't because I didn't want to play against her. it was sad actually,
But yeah, mostly Pokemon, mostly Japanese games. That's when I was a wee lad.
What do you think is the first game that you purchased actively yourself
Oh,
for
man.
yourself?
I mean, I don't know if it was a game. Like my two of my siblings and I got together, pooled our money, and bought a Nintendo 64, the golden one.
Hey.
And we had a friend who let us borrow like almost all like the Nintendo 64 classics, like Banjo-Kazooie,
Oh, man.
1 and 2, Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda, like all the
Dangly
big
King.
titles. Not Dangly King. I never
Why
got into the
not?
Dangle Kong. No.
not Dangle Dong.
I want to do a playthrough of Dangly King, but I can't. I think I gave my copy back to a friend of mine who then lent me. It was a great trade because he was just like, have you played Dangly King 64? And I was just like, no, I haven't. Have you played Majora's Mask? And I regret giving him Majora's Mask.
Don't. It's okay.
No, it's a good thing. I know you hate. I know you hate it. We've done 3 episodes where you've actively said Majora's Mask sucks ball sacks, and I don't.
Did I
regret it."
mention it sucks?
Yeah.
I mean,
You're stuck in a time loop. Who does that? Flashes to every Pokemon game. Flashes to every Final Fantasy.
I mean, to be fair, like I'm right though. It's not a good game.
We've done a debate already.
No.
We've done a debate already.
Wait,
But I lent him.
that's bait.
So I lent it to him, and so like when I play games, you already know me. I like try to complete them, and I try to complete them quickly. So I was like, when I was showing him the game, I'm just like, oh, I did this, and here's all the stuff, and here's how I got it. And he's just like, oh, how long did this take? I'm like, oh, probably a couple months, like 3 or 4 months of on and off play. Just like, oh, okay. And so I give him Donkey Kong, or he gives me Donkey Kong. I trade him, for a Dongly Nog. I give him Dongly Nog, and he gives me.
That sounds like a really gross drink.
Dongly Nog, mixed Dongly Nog with Jose Cuervo is the best. No.
Oh.
And and then I give him Majora's Mask, and he gives me Dongly Nog, and 4 days go by. 4 days. I'm like just getting started on Donkey Kong. He's just like, all right, I'm ready to trade it back. I'm like, why? He's like, I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean you're done? And he shows me a completion screen. He 100%ed it in 38 hours.
Majora's Mask?
How did he do that? I have no clue.
Why would anyone want to do that?
Oh my god, why am I
That's a
talking with you?
decent-sized
He
game, and
100%.
You need to know like so many random things that it does not.
That's the
explain.
thing. Is like there's so much stuff that you can't get unless you play the cycle like 3 or 4 times, and then you're just like, oh yeah, this is how this time comes and this time comes. He must have got a playthrough guide or something. But that's the thing, is back then the only playthrough guide was at GameStop, and you had to pay like $80 for it. So I'm just like, how did he do this? Does he know, like, does he like look things? Because at this time,
Did
Game
he make
Informer,
the game?
right? I was like, this time Game Informer was the only person you could get
No.
guides from.
No, that's a trick question. No one made that.
Oh my god.
It just kind of like.
So
it was
right.
just an
Daniel,
accident.
You're right. Nobody make that game. God just gifted it to humanity.
That's a lie.
You know what? You know what game was God's gift to humanity though?
What?
Toys Story 2 for Nintendo 64. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say
No,
baby
I think,
party,
I think the best game in my
party
opinion,
babies.
Party Babies. I think the best
an actual
game,
game.
The best game.
For like Wii?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Do you have that game?
No, but
I don't have
know,
that
I
game.
know of it. It's so stupid. Okay.
I think the best game for Nintendo 64 because I mean, there's so many good games on it.
Be careful with what you say here.
But NFL Blitz, I've had more fun with people who don't know how to play football, who don't know football games. I've had more fun playing NFL Blitz with people than any other game on that console.
just like pile driving someone after they're already
yeah,
done.
or just the shuffle codes at the beginning where you like we just shuffle the buttons and get random codes, and so it'll be like. It'll go from this normal like game. It could be like this really easy competitive game where it's like there's a lot of statistics and strategy, and we're just like, okay, let's do the codes. And then it'll be like it's foggy and snowing with big heads, and everyone has a small body. And when you tackle, they tackle at 50 feet like per second. So it's just like, and then you just button mash. Everyone's just like waving across the field. Like I remember playing with Willie. It was like the first time I had him over. Because we used to play Halo Reach on my brother's console, Halo Ritz Crackers on the Nintendo 64, which still to this day is my favorite Halo game. But so we were playing it, and so if you press A and B at the same time, A means tackle, and B is like a collective for your players, so you can kind of direct where they're going if you hold B and then you use the joystick, and then of course A is if you pick a character. But since you're holding the same, all of the characters, like the line for which one you pick, shuffles through all of them lightning quick. So if you like button jab both of those, all of your players like jump tackle at the same time, so they can dolphin across the field. So we get a code that was slow. So everyone was slow. So he played a running play like the first time, and so he passed to him. He's just like, "How do I pass him?" Like, you can't pass. He's a running back. You can only lateral. So as a joke, I think all of my characters dolphin across the field, tackling his characters, like crippling everything until I like have just this lone running back who's trying to lateral to nobody behind him. He's like, "It's not working." I'm like, lateral means behind you. You have to have someone behind you. It's all in slow motion too. So he's just like, what is going on? That he doesn't know football, which is the great part. He's just like, is this how the game is? So
is this what everyone
yeah. He's just like,
what football is like in real life.
no joke. After he played, he's just like, I might actually watch football. I was just like, it's so disappointing.
I was gonna say you will be so disappointed.
It's like be prepared to watch 3 quarters in 2 hours, and then the last quarter is another 2 hours. The fourth quarter is so long.
It does seem that way.
Yeah. So it's just like.
What was your first nerd experience?
Oh gosh. Well, along with the Pokemon experience.
What was your first time? Who popped your cherry?
I think I have
Make it weird,
I have an unfair upbringing in the nerd culture because both my brothers are majorly older than I am, 6 and 5 years older than I am. So when I was growing up, a lot of what they did just through osmosis came down to me. So a lot of it wasn't self-discovery. It was through another source. So either my neighbors, my friends, or my brothers. So my brothers, whenever they did something, whether it was collect Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pirates of the Spanish Main, if anyone knows what that collection of board games is. So every single time
my dad had them.
Yeah? And that's the thing is every time I would get into what they were getting into, I would be better at them at it. So they'd switch to something else. So like Pokemon, they'd get a few Pokemon cards and play, and then I'd just be like, oh, so you have to have more cards to be good. So I every ounce of my money went to Pokemon cards. And that's the thing is when I was a kid, this is
nothing else mattered.
Nothing else mattered. I didn't care, and I was within walking distance from Grossmont Center, so I could
saving
go.
money. What's that?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the thing is I would do things I would actually go out and do things for money for this purpose. So, which I mean, that's I think the only reason my dad would be fine with it. Otherwise, he's just
the kid's working.
Yeah,
he's earning money. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. So
even if it's for stupid cards with chibi animals on them,
he doesn't think they're stupid now because I've probably a year ago I went through.
Yeah, now they're all worth a bunch of money.
Oh hell yeah, they are
so much. I have a card that's worth $250.
Yeah, I even energy cards from the first series.
If you have a Charizard, you are
set.
You are set
for at least a month.
Yeah.
You're like, well, no, sit on it. Wait until it's worth more money.
Yeah. So
you can pay for someone's college with that in like 10 years.
yeah, but that's the thing is like I had because like Grossmont Center, which is where Grossmont Center, I'm vomiting at my past. So like where a mall was.
You too?
Yeah,
I
I know.
have those moments too where
I'm just like
I think back to my past and I just go,
yeah.
I just like cringe to myself. I'm like, oh, I hated myself.
Playing the first Dark Souls. That's the worst one. I have acid reflux.
Ugh.
I think I just spit taked. I did an Asner.
You're trying to make him spit.
I'm trying to. That's worse because it's also Monster, so it's gonna clear out your sinuses, and then your body's gonna be like, "This is not natural to the body.
This is not liquid.
Flood it with mucus." That's how it cure everything. I hate the human body for that reason. It's just like, the worst one, strep throat and pneumonia. Who put the body in charge of doing both of those things? Because it's supposed to fix something. Like both are supposed to like help you. Because when I got strep throat, they were just like, "Oh, it's the body's way to fighting it off to clear out your air passages." I'm just
It's like, I didn't feel that
so
bad when it
makes
started.
it worse to fix it.
It
like
makes
this is
it
like
worse to live.
That's
to
a-
make it
It's
better.
just it's a hard reset. That's the idea, right? It's like choking everything out
and then letting go
It's like
softly.
they could have pressed a reset button on your computer, but instead they banged it with the wrench that's
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah, I know. It's like the dad that doesn't go in and actually like fix it like carefully.
Whips the battery out and then tries shoving it
Yeah,
back.
he's the dad who just like punches the TV and expects it to work again.
And it does, but
Sure,
it's not
yeah.
gonna.
And it does.
That's
just
a
not
miracle.
the same.
Yeah.
There's a green halo like, like on the TV now, and
Just be like, it's the focus ring. It's the center. It's the POV.
okay.
But so like
Pokemon cards.
a mall was like within walking distance, and this was back in the day.
So easily.
I know, and this was like in the day that like my parents, they'd let us walk anywhere. Like even we were 10, which in hindsight I'm just like, why would you let this? Yeah. So I would be able to just walk back and forth, and like $10 would get me like the Walmart packs of like 25 cards. This was back when a 25 card pack was like actually like $3 or $4 and not
Right.
$8 now. So
Packs cost
Like
$4.
you don't go to a card store with $40 and walk away with like
One
2
card.
packs.
yeah, I know. That's how it is now.
So you don't go to
So,
comic stores. You go to like Target or something.
Well, that's the thing is at the time we didn't have any.
Selection is really low now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
in that day, it was either Walmart, Target, or you go to GameStop, because GameStop used to have a lot
Or
more
you go
cards
to
than
a
they
card
did now.
store and pay $30
Yeah,
for
yeah.
one card.
Yeah, I know. I did that. I'm
like-
sorry.
And they definitely didn't weigh those cards.
No. And then that's the thing was like back in those days, that's all I used to just like. I used to go and then I amassed an unreasonable amount of cards, and then
There's no such thing.
it really got bad when like I would on Saturday mornings wake up, go to the end of my street where people would post the yard sale stuff. And so we were in a military part of town where like we get a ton of military families. So like when they leave, it's just like leave useless things behind. So cards were one of those useless things. So I'd like go actively and see and go to these yard sales and be like, Pokemon cards, Pokemon cards, Pokemon cards. Oh, bye, I don't know you. Pokemon cards. Grab Pokemon cards from them. And like I amassed so many within such a short period of time.
Sounds like the habits of a drug.
Seriously,
Sounds
like
a personal problem.
I look at I look at what I have now and I'm just like, why?
I have a problem.
Yeah. And then it went to Yu-Gi-Oh! And then it went to all these other, but I think the first
Arguably,
nerd-
Yu-Gi-Oh's better though. Like the
it's more
card game.
mechanically
The game is
challenging.
like more. It's more advanced. It's more evolved. It's more like detailed.
There's
Yes.
more mechanics, and I think that's
Pokemon's
why
very simple.
people. Yeah, I think that's why people migrate from Pokemon to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic. Or
I
one of
never made
those.
that jump. I never played Pokemon and then went to.
And then
Yu-Gi-Oh.
went
I
to-
feel like
I just went straight
I
to
feel like the
Yu-Gi-Oh.
majority of people who collected Pokemon cards didn't actually play Pokemon. They just collected.
They
them.
just liked them.
Yeah, because they looked cool.
I mean, I did. I played with them mostly with my brothers and a couple of friends, but then there was a point where it was just stopped because like either people would. At the time, Yu-Gi-Oh was being more popular, and that's when my brothers made the jump. It's just like we keep losing to David. Oh, this Yu-Gi-Oh thing, he has to buy more cards. So
He has to start from the bottom. Kick his ass.
yeah, I know exactly. And it was just like actually there was a time where like there was a weird juncture where like they would play Yu-Gi-Oh and then they'd be like, well, if you want to play with your Pokemon cards, like they make up BS rules about how like the picture on the card depicts what the card does instead of actually like reading the card. Anyway, but I think the first experience in nerd culture, like I did by myself, even before that time, was probably, I think we talked about this on a certain occasion on a podcast, but we had a computer at my house, and
Oh yeah, Zoo
all
Tycoon.
Zoo Tycoon, Pajama Sam, Carmen Sandiego, like those games, like was even before I started playing like with cards or with Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance. I feel like that was kind of what got me kind of submersed into it. And that's the thing too, is like, you know, at that time, like I said, like, you know, my brothers would be doing whatever, and you know, they were ahead of the actual bell curve of like nerd culture. And but at the time, like they would be going and playing like Nintendo 64, but at that time, like I would just be on the computer letting lions out of a cage in Zoo Tycoon to watch them eat all the visitors.
Jeez, so dark.
So I think like that was the start of it, but I think like the first time, like I asked you like what the first real purchase was that like got you into that, was when I went out and purchased a Game Boy Advance, and the first game I got was Pokemon Emerald, and then from there like everything escalated from that point on.
Oh, new.
So right, so that was mine. So
Evan?
long-winded, just to say I played Zoo Tycoon again.
I think for me, it wasn't really the game aspect, or even, I mean, part of it was the show, like the television shows, but the biggest part for me was the drawing aspect. That's kind of what got me really invested in the world. Like I remember doodling and like drawing characters that resembled shows that I watched on TV, and they were it was like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, and I remember drawing things that resembled those shows, and I remember pretty much anything I saw, I was drawing. And that's kind of what really solidified. Thank you. Solidified my kind of my place in nerd culture, I guess. I mean, for me anyway, was creating, yeah. And I would like make comic books, and I would sell them out of the back of my dad's chiropractic office. That's not a joke. Like I had like a booth set up and everything.
No, don't laugh. It's fun. It's not funny. It's amazing. Yeah. I think that's so cool.
I'm imagining a little Evan.
I actually sold copies. Like there was a mom whose son who was younger than me. Like she enjoyed my comics, and I had a regular customer for at least a couple weeks. So I had kind of like a story that I had to make, like and kind of keep coming up with for this kid who liked them. So that was really cool for like a second.
God damn it! How is it you put the phone on silence? It's just like, but you didn't put the alarms on silent.
Yeah, it's like the alarms are meant to cut through the. But yeah, so that was a very that kind of, I think what that did was kind of like light a spark in me to continue creating, which is kind of why I felt really passionate about starting this podcast, because I really enjoy creating content and like making things, you know, for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I find joy in that. It's not necessarily like we're not doing this for a job, even though we sure like to. But
yes, please,
Daniel, please. But the crazy thing about it is, you know, even though we struggle and we claw and we try to make times work to do this, like I find a lot of joy in doing this and just like making content, talking about this kind of stuff. And I think it all started like when I was a kid, when I was doing those things. And I think the biggest influences for me when it comes to like drawing stuff was Dragon Ball, was a lot of like cartoons like that growing up. Like for me, Danny Phantom was a big influence for me, just because like the story. I mean, looking back on it, I can recognize the story was very compelling, but also like it was just a good show.
But do you believe that Danny Phantom's actually Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents?
I don't.
Who made a bad wish?
I absolutely do not. It's the same artist. That's the only thing that's connecting them. However, I do want to see a Fairly Odd Parents Danny Phantom crossover. I do want to see that. We saw a Jimmy Neutron Timmy Turner. I want to see, yeah. So I think it was a mixture of that, and then I got involved, or I got into Yu-Gi-Oh when I was a kid. Not as much as I am now, or not as much as our friend Nick is, who like does tournaments and stuff, like a freaking nerd. What a freaking loser!
What a nerd!
What a loser! No.
That's like the NRA being just like, who shoots people? I mean, no, I'm kidding.
Oh no!
I'm kidding.
That's
a very topical joke. I'm sorry.
Gosh, yeah.
Don't go after
Yeah,
me.
we don't need to.
No, don't encourage me.
We don't
Don't
need that kind of
encourage me.
attention. Government's like,
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll reshoot it. I mean, we'll
We just burst through. Who said shoot? Get on the ground.
shoot. No, wait.
it's like, dang it.
Dag gun.
Dude, tag gun. Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so yeah, I think it was. So it was that, and then Yu-Gi-Oh was a really integral part that kind of. I think how everything connects for me was like the art style was very unique, and it was very different from a lot of art or cartoons that were very prevalent in American kid society, it was very different from like Looney Tunes and stuff like that, and I think that was the pull for me. It was different, and I think that's what kind of got me.
It was like really dynamic.
Yeah, it's very dynamic.
In like a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, like, Nathaniel, I'm sure, like, especially with Pokemon, you could argue like there's not much different from the Pokemon TV series or even the cards. It's a lot of it is the animation and the visual aspect of it. Do you feel like, because I feel like that's kind of the juncture for a lot of kids is like seeing and imagining, like, putting possibility behind it. Like, you watch the TV show to get an idea of like what the people want you to think when you're playing the card game, like what it is that they do.
Yeah.
So, like, especially when like you were playing it, when it comes to Pokemon, even the old Pokemon games, like they were just pixels that would move and like make like jostling motions, and suddenly that means it's tackle. Yeah. So
It's just like,
and then that it resembles a earthquake. So
and then you have
a lot of it was like you pictured yourself in the role of like a trainer or something. You put yourself in that universe.
and I feel like there's like a curve where it goes from a visual experience to like, even now when you play D&D, there's no visual to it. It's all in your mind, and it's all
You fill in the gaps
creative.
with your imagination.
Yeah.
That's like the coolest part of it.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's like kind of the nice part is like nerd culture gives you that.
that avenue to be creative.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, especially because
to be fair, it's not the only.
not
the only like source of creativity. Like,
No.
People can be artists and musicians without being a quote unquote nerd. Like, you don't have to like watch nerdy things or like watch anime or cartoons or anything like that to consider to be like artistic. But I think
It's like a huge inspiration to be artistic.
well, no,
Yeah.
and I think what's happened is
It's an avenue.
The nerd culture, yes, the nerd culture has become so saturated that it's easier now to run your creative juices, I guess, through this avenue.
Yeah,
because
which is why like fan art and fan fiction is such a big thing.
Yeah, that is true too. And by the way, I haven't seen any fan art of us, and I'm insulted. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm actually terrified.
Yeah, it should be a crayon drawing.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, I think the only way people could know what we look like is if they kind of like look through our Twitter and like find who we're connected to, like how we're connected.
Don't give him any
Some
ideas.
Jason Bourne stuff right there.
Right, I know, but David doesn't have a Twitter, so there's no real way for you to find out what David looks like.
I'm under the radar.
So his address is 315.
Oh god, no.
His number is 555-5555.
But yeah, I think like another big thing is a lot of people now like in nerd culture, instead of creating, they're like sucked into, it's kind of like this worship culture where you're like obsessed with like Pokemon or like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, and you're like obsessed with it, and you put all this money into
of
it.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes, and they're like, a lot of them have people, corporations and companies have like capitalized on this whole like worship culture to take money from people.
Yeah.
And like I feel like the majority of people don't create, they just consume.
I feel like that's why, at least with all three of us, that correlating factor of Pokemon, I don't feel like, yeah, they had a card game. I feel like that's kind of, besides the TV series, I feel like that was the only thing that they really went with as far as like a marketing perspective. Like they never went on the TV show and was just like, you could buy some Pokemon cards.
You're right.
Like,
Well, I mean, there were like ads for like the games and stuff. I don't know if there was ad for cards.
Not really. Yeah, it was just
but
like
even
the
the
games once in a while.
Yeah, even the games, it was, just every.
I remember a Smash Bros. Ad. On
Yeah,
TV
man.
where like all the characters were like being shoved into a box or whatever. It was weird.
And that's what's kind of interesting is like we've went from this like critical juncture in nerd culture. Like I feel like a lot of the differences, like back before there was even like I guess you could call it like nerd like nerd culture stuff, that like people would be able to, like you're saying, like make their own comic books and draw. Like even before there was a juncture for that, like no one would do that. No one does that on their spare time. Is who draws in their spare time. Like that's not productive. You know what I mean? Like in our parents' time, it's just like if you want to be creative, go build something, go make something, go go do something physically creative instead of using this like avenue of imagination to be creative. And like even nowadays, people like you could use the excuse that it actually has helped people be more creative because artists can draw. People who make cosplay outfits, like that's, I feel like that's kind of one of the more
That's an underrated art form. Yeah.
Just like seeing how people can go from like seeing something in a show and then trying to encapsulate that in physical form and like make that like people who do costumes and makeup and
And now we have like so many more
crafts.
tools to make. Like we have like
Oh,
programs
yeah.
that you make games and music and like all
Yeah.
these things.
I don't know if you guys remember, but Nickelodeon had a contest. This was, I think, back in like 2008, 9, whatever. And they had a contest where kids send in cartoon ideas, and whichever one they liked became a cartoon.
Oh, really?
I sent in my original characters, and they didn't. I didn't.
But that's still like
obviously.
cool experience.
Yeah, it was cool. It was funny because I think they didn't go with it because I kind of took some
liberties from other places.
I kind of took some inspiration from my guy kind of looked like Kirby a little bit, but he had hair. And his best friend was a mushroom.
Oh my
Was a
Okay.
personified mushroom.
Now we know why it didn't work out. Because Kirby ate
You've
the mushroom.
offended-
And
yeah.
Well, no, he didn't eat his friend. He never ate his friend, but yeah, it was
Luigi.
Mama Luigi. But
that's the thing that like
his name was Chip.
Chip. Wait, the mushroom or
No. His
They were
Or,
both
uh,
named Chip.
The Kirby looking dude was Chip, and then
What was the
Chip
mushroom's name?
Was it Chippendale?
I wish that would have been way more creative.
Chippendale
My-
Baudry.
the mushroom. I think.
I'm so ready for
you
this.
have
Please
these?
remember.
I was like, do you have these still?
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if it was something other than Mush Mush, but I don't remember. I was not. Yeah, I could not think of a creative name.
You're
for it.
going to find these and we're going to post them on the Nerd and Out Twitter. We need to have that.
I am sure I could find them somewhere.
Oh man.
As if I haven't. Burned
Do you have
them.
like any of your surviving comics or anything?
I think so. I'd have to really.
I would
look.
love to see
I
some
would
of
really
those.
love
That'd be
to find
awesome.
them.
But yeah, those are like our first forays into the nerd culture, and now we're totally in doing stuff like D&D
you think-
and podcasting.
Because especially since you're a writer, do you feel like that was somewhat influenced by the fact that you've kind of experienced? Because a lot of people could say like, oh, you can experience like creative literature through books or through
Yes.
other outlets. Do you feel like a nerd side of you, the nerd culture of you, has helped foster that same kind of creative ability? Because like you were saying, like drawing, like I'm sure like everyone started out with like, I'm gonna put the sun in the corner and the land is gonna be completely flat on a bottom 1/8 of the page. It's gonna be green and everyone's gonna look like they're on a Mario game.
Yeah, well,
And
we're
then they
running
get
short
to-
on time here, but yeah, like even like a lot of my writing is influenced by a lot of the stuff that I saw. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to admit it, but I did write some fan fiction back in the day, and
Of course you did.
of course I did.
And you're gonna find it and you're gonna post it.
Oh no, I have it still
no.
somewhere. I've not read it in a decade.
Well, I was gonna say we gotta find it and we gotta do a table read on the.
Oh, we
on the
do.
podcast.
It's been actually 2 decades since I wrote it. So,
Oh my god.
so it's been a while, but I have it.
It's
but
been a while.
yeah, and a lot of it, like a lot of my writing, is influenced by it, whether I like it or not. And I'm actually writing a novel this month. It's National Novel Writing Month, and the goal is to write a whole novel in 1 month. So I started yesterday.
Is there a like some sort of like format you have to follow?
50,000 words.
That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words.
How many is that in like an average? Like it doesn't
An
like
essay, like
At-
normal size essay, is about 1,000, 2,000 words.
oh, okay.
So times.
So almost like a 4 or 5
Times-
chapter.
yeah.
It's like a 4 or 5 chapter kind of thing, almost. Because if an essay,
book?
yeah,
The book is like at least 20 chapters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, give or take. It could be 30. It could be.
Good guess though.
I don't read.
Clearly.
The last
like-
book
it's
I read
like
was a series
yay
of unfortunate
big.
events.
Yeah.
That's 50,000 words.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's insane, but I don't have a job now, so I have time while I job hunt.
I have Team A.
I have Team A. But yeah, thanks for
Thanks for
joining
listening.
us for a very important episode.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening.
You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook. We have episodes that come out on Podbean, on iTunes and Spotify. Also, just the archives of this will be on YouTube as well. Just has the thumbnail in the background.
Use that damn email.
Tell
God
us your
damn it.
first.
Flavor Blasted has to be a thing.
Flavor Blasted in the subject. We will do any ideas, or if you have any criticisms, if you want to yell at us for not doing our jobs correctly.
How dare you talk
quote unquote jobs? Yeah.
Why don't you like Digimon instead of Pokemon?
Apologies
I
to
did
my-
I did like Digimon.
Apologies and thanks to my roommates for sleeping or not sleeping through this.
Yeah. You were
I
warned.
promise it was worth it.
Yeah, you
At
were-
least for us.
You were warned. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening.
And stay tuned for updated content. I know that we are on many weird sabbaticals
Yes.
of content.
Yeah, so we have a couple episodes that are already recorded before this that we wanted to wait until this one was finished before we release them. We know you guys will love them because we enjoyed making them. We, as in Nathaniel and I, David was a bitch and didn't make it.
I know.
No, it's okay.
I know.
It's okay.
It's a struggle.
Yeah, I know. But
Being a bitch.
and with that,
Pours water on computer and microphones.
oh Lord.
Oh, now you definitely are more of a.
We will see you, or
Hear you.
well, we won't hear it.
won't hear
Oh
it.
gosh, see you later. Bye. But novelty socks that were like the first. My family got me them, and first sign they were in a box,
Well,
and they were all Marvel themed socks.
oh, that's kind of cool.
It was cool, but
pretty
like,
cool, though.
but the longer socks, like all
Or
of
they
them-
were they like crew socks or tube socks? Kind of.
They're like crew socks.
Okay.
They're the crew. Well, some of them were crew socks. Some of them were ankle socks.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, so
it was a mixture.
all right.
But it was it was weird. Not all of them. Some of like the crew socks with like the ones that I'm wearing now. I couldn't get them all the way like on my foot. So I was gonna say they're like these socks were meant for children basically. Like they didn't fit my feet.
They went to they
They were made for like a very fat child, and I was like just barely outside of the demographic for the socks. So a lot of them
just outside.
a lot of them like just barely fit me, but like there's some of them like I have Captain America socks that I've never worn because they do not fit me, and I've tried.
They buy these clothes at Barnes and Noble. Like that's
I don't know where they got them. I think what happened was my sister was
Which
with
one?
The younger one was with my dad
both
at,
younger,
like,
but
at
okay.
a Goodwill or a swap meet or something, and found them and was like, oh, I'll get those for Evan without checking like
size. If
yeah.
it works.
Yeah. What age?
Although I saw this really cool video online where someone's just like, socks don't fit, ? And then they make like little beer koozies out of them. Where if you soak them in, what was it?
Guinness.
It was some kind of hardener. Guinness.
Oh, you mean like starch or something?
Yeah.
Or-
I think it was starch. But yeah, you're supposed to like put it
that's
in
a
like,
hardening thing, yeah.
yeah, you're supposed to put like a larger than what you're trying to fit it in inside of it, and then you like dip it in like it's obsessive amount of like starch over and over and over and over and over, and then when you take it out, it just stays that way. And then I was like, that's gonna be bad.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the ankle socks I have worn excessively because they're like the only socks I have.
But do they stretch out now? Is there,
They stretch out now,
But-
just to see like how cheap they are, like I have Venom and Iron Man socks that I've worn. They both are riddled with holes. not even like little tiny holes. Like 3 of my toes can fit through one hole.
Okay, Oliver Twist, why are you wearing these socks?
Because I'm like I'm cheap when it comes to clothes, you know. Like
I get that, though.
I don't really like going out and spending a bunch of money on clothes all
Here's
the
a
time.
shirt, $200.
I'm like, yeah, who spends a lot of money on clothes?
Well, I mean, the problem is, like I go to Old Navy, so even then like it's still cheaper, but I don't like going, like I'll go out and I'll pay money for food and stuff, but I don't know, I haven't been someone that's been like, oh, I want to go out and get new clothes. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, these work. I'm just gonna ride them until I can't wear them anymore. So that's just kind of how I've been my entire life, basically. I haven't really, my parents have always tried to like get me to go get new clothes, and I've always been not very enthusiastic about it.
The first Monday of every month when Salvation Army does like their 98% off everything, my parents are just like, we're gonna get some new clothes. I'm like, those aren't new clothes, but okay.
It's like, we just got new clothes.
They're new to you.
They're new to you because you're the first time you're seeing them.
Yeah. It's just like, but yeah, I mean, it's the same. I mean, like, I feel like there's like 3 different categories for clothing. Like, you've got shoes, you've got pants,
And you got nice
and you've
shoes.
got really good shoes.
Got Alfani shoes.
Yeah, it's just like shoes, pants, and shirts. I feel like shirts, people usually can like do whatever and be fine with it. Like, where I think we're at a point now in fashion where you can wear an old-fashioned shirt, like a 90s style shirt, and you're still fine. Pants, I feel like it's kind of just like whatever you wear is pretty much fine, unless it's not like, you know, bleach camouflaged, or, you know, 1995 you're wearing cargo pants that are like 6 sizes too big but the waist fits fine, that kind of stuff.
Or bell-bottoms.
Bell bottoms.
Oh, God.
Or lederhosen, or any sort of random type of clothing that's just like
Have you seen what NBA basketball players wear when walking down the tunnel? Pretty much
Jaden
anything.
Smith. Jaden Smith wears Goodwill clothing. Probably.
Jaden Smith wears a canvas.
He listened to that, what was that guy? Thrift Shop. Who sings? Who raps? Macklemore. For the longest time, someone would be like, oh, have you heard this Fleetwood Mac song? I'll be like, yeah, I love Thrift Shop. They're like, what are you talking about? I got it mixed up. Have you heard Landslide from No, sounds like an epic rap battle, though.
Oh my god.
It'd be the stupidest thing if they did a collab.
Yeah, but
Sponsor us.
sponsor us, please. Jeez.
Oh, that's
Perfect.
Gonna make a good remix.
Coffee.
Coffee.
That's he's gonna use that for the new
Make dubstep out of your slurp step.
That'd be another pointless sound of all the pointless sounds
Could
I've
it be
made.
more pointless than
Well,
dubstep?
okay, real quick. At this, this can be the end card. We got to do.
Oh, this is recording?
yeah.
Yeah,
we've
it's been recording.
Okay.
Also, like your sensitivity's turned up, which is good because you were like far away.
Yeah, here, let's...
No, it's good. It's good because you
No,
were far away
it
and it
has
was
to be,
picking
like,
up
It has
well.
to be like right up on the mic. So.
Hold me closer, Mike Pop Filter.
If you made it this far, guess what? You get a second end card. Enjoy.
What we should do is, which we haven't done in a while, which I really wanted to do, is we got to do the
Oh, one of us?
Yeah, the continuing sentences going around the table thing and like tell a story. We got to do that again.
Oh, boy.
I
I promise not to derail it. I promise not
Well, I
to
was gonna
derail
say
it.
it's not. Well, Willie's not here, so that won't be so. You go
He's
ahead.
with us at all times.
In spirit.
In
Okay.
spirit
Okay, so
and
you-
in tumor.
David, go ahead and start.
Oh, that's how he's with us.
I was gonna say we'll go this way.
A
Come on, you got to do more than one word.
long.
A long
fence cat.
fence cat went running.
A long fence cat went running to the store.
A long fence cat went running to the store to buy half a bottle of tequila.
The long fence cat went running to the store to buy a half a bottle of tequila to put into his coffee.
That same long fence cat that went running to the store to buy half a bottle of tequila to put into his coffee died of a stroke.
That's so sad.
He left behind just a quarter bottle of tequila for his family.
I know you. I see it in your eyes. You're going to be like,
Say it.
and then they went to space.
And they flew off into space.
Really?
And
We played that at Halloween. But go ahead.
so, and then every year his family would pour out a little of the tequila for his family. Oh, jeez.
Don't worry, it's just my bomb.
Oh, good.
It's only a matter of time.
Oh, finish that, Evan.
And then once a year, for in remembrance of him, they pour out a little of the tequila
But not too much.
but not too much, just a little, just as much as the little fence cat would drink.
But not enough tequila guy.
No.
And one year particularly, when the bottle was finished, the fence cat rose from the grave. I'm sorry, I had to.
And was blasted into space.
I can't wait for it to come back.
And the cat revealed himself as Nicolas Cage.
And when this all happened, the family said, "How did this happen?" And they said, "Well, we thought he died, but he was on the fence."
Okay. Nathaniel's done.
Dun, dun.
That's so good. That's perfect punchline.
We played that.
If you can call it a punchline.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't know why I said fence cat, but now I know.
Yeah. Now we know.
I was just trying the whole time, like, fence cat, come on.
On the fence.
Perfect.
So
I was gonna make a King of the Hill joke, but it didn't correlate very well.